What's up, folks? This is JC Owens, and this is Rock My World, episode 12, Rebel, Rebel. Now, it was once said by a man named Lawrence Durrell, no one can be a rebel for too long before they become an autocrat. Now, why does he say this? Well, it's because it's true, you see. Like, everybody thinks of things like being in a straight line, but it's not. As I've said before, things are a circle, right? At best, a circle with wiggly edges, right? And the the fact of the matter is, like, if everyone becomes a rebel, then no one is, right? If everybody is like, you know, dressing like crazy and wearing crazy costumes and dyeing their hair and wearing furry outfits and like all these other kind of things. Like once society goes into complete chaos and everybody's rebelling, then the rebel becomes the one who starts trying to follow some kind of order, right? The only way that you can avoid going around this little circle over and over again is balance. It's like I talk about all the time, right? I do my best to try and not lean too much into either extreme because once you do, you just become the opposite of what you were trying to be, right? You can think of it kind of like you got right over here, left over here, kind of in the middle is the neutral, right? And then you can go either into absolute order, which is tyranny, or you can go into absolute chaos, which is just another form of tyranny in a way, right? Both of them are incredibly dangerous and like create all kinds of problems for human beings, right? It's like, why is it that the left, even though they'll say that they want to protect minorities and all these kind of things, like why is it they automatically go to censorship and all these kind of things? Well, same reason the right does. Right? Like it's the same game, right? They're both swinging to the extreme and running up into that tyranny area, right? If everyone, or at least most everyone, were to seek balance, this stuff wouldn't happen. But the powers that be will set the two sides against one another, and and cause these power plays between the equal opposites. And you see, David Bowie understood all these kinds of things. He was fully aware of the teachings of the ancient mystery school. He was fully aware of the interplay between the equal opposites and the alchemy that goes into changing yourself into these different characters. And he played with the Captain Jack character, who was an eye patch wearing space pirate. Right, and then he played the exact opposite character, where he ran around dressing in World War II German uniforms and slicking his hair back. Right, and like he was playing with the extremes of the scale. He was playing his part as the fool in so many ways. If you remember the little talk we had last weekend about the fool. And the part that both the Harlequin and the Holy Fool play. And you've probably heard this saying, "All the world's a stage." Well, all the world is a stage, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody is playing a part to some degree. You have your inner world and who you really are, and then you have what you show everyone else. Right? My quest over the past decade or so has been to try and bring, who I am on the inside and who I am on the outside, into harmony with one another. Try to not lie, to not cheat, to not steal, to not do, hard drugs and be a junkie. I've tried to find some measure of balance in my life, and it has rewarded me. I don't fall into all of these this versus that, versus matches, because it doesn't help anyone to do that. you'll just become the very thing that you hate. As soon as you try to run society like in an all-male dominated order kind of fashion, you get tyranny, and then you'll create feminism. And then feminism takes over, and it runs things all in the feminine way, which has then now created MGTOW. And it just keeps going till things get more and more and more extreme, right? Well, this is also like part and parcel to the thing with rock stars and why you can't have a rebel rock star character as easily as you used to could. You see, when Bowie was doing what he was doing, you had a society that ran on rules. It still had the social contract. Men and women were still getting married normally. People still dressed normally and, cut their hair short, or men cut their hair short, rather. Women wore dresses and all these kinds of things when he first kind of got started. But as they went, things became more and more extreme, right? From 1969 onwards, society has become more and more like Bowie and Captain Jack, right? It's become more and more extreme to where now most people you meet have tattoos or have long hair, right? It's very common. Why can't there be a Hollywood star anymore? Well, because most people are trying to be their own star, right? Like, I'm sitting here with a YouTube channel, very much being my own star as we speak. And all of you probably have, something you do, some kind of social media where you are the spotlight, you are the host of the show, right? And plus, there's also some of it tied to, knowing people too well. Like, some amount of mystery drives the star phenomenon. And there is no mystery anymore. The mystery has been removed from society. The social contract has been removed from society. Things are running in complete chaos. And, if you've been paying attention, what happens when we run into extreme, complete chaos? Oh, well, the pendulum tends to swing in the complete opposite direction and overcorrect, right? It overcorrects and we run into tyranny. And that's where we're headed. With the ice raids, these are only practice runs for when they're going to be kicking in the doors looking for patriots. This is just the first step. This is how it went, in World War II Germany. Yeah, first they came, for the gypsies and, the Hebrews and everybody else. And then, guess what? They came for their own. The brown shirts were the very next ones to go. The SS, as soon as the SS came up to power, they went and took out Rommel and and all the brown shirts and replaced everybody with SS. See, that's how this game works, folks. They'll enlist you to help you destroy your neighbor, and then they will turn against you. This is the warning I give both the left and the right, both male and female. The center too. Do not fall for this stuff. If you fall for it, we will, pay for it dearly. We have to, for rock and roll to exist, for the thing we love to exist, there has to be some measure of order. Yes. But there also can't be too much order, or it also can't exist. That is, that is the basis that all reality basically runs on, is this, this hot, cold, this or that, the interplay between these equal opposites runs everything. Once you understand that, once you understand, this basic, principle behind all things, for every action, there's the equal and opposite reaction. All of these rules don't only apply to, physics and things like that. It applies to the things we do and, the things we think and how we interact with each other. It's one system. It's one system. As above, so below. As within, so without. That's how they run. It's all interrelated. But once you understand one part of the system and how it runs, you can understand the rest of the system. Either way, we'll stop there for today. I hope you folks have a great weekend. Much love. We'll talk to you later.